All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Kristin Cicala.
Hi, I'm Samantha Stafford.
So, Samantha, do you want to tell me a little bit about like the degree program you're in and what you're studying and kind of what resonates the most to you about what you study?
Absolutely. So I am a theater major here at Wayne State with a concentration in acting. What I love most about the field is how we can portray like the truth in a lot of events, but yet at the same time we have to like really constantly be thinking on our feet all the time. One of my favorite quotes is acting is the ability to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances, but at the same point, we have to be able to think on our feet and create our own sense, which I love. I love being able to express myself and the feelings and opinions of others while on stage, and I love being in front of an audience. What about you, Kristin? What's your degree program like?
So I'm a graphic design major and I'm actually a senior, so I graduate soon.
Yay!
And it's so exciting. I can't wait. And I'm also an animation and interactivity minor, and I'm also getting a certificate in entrepreneurship and innovation because I want to do some sort of freelance work in my career. So I think the business experience will be really helpful. But really, like all of these different areas of study that I've had have really helped me to kind of gauge what it is I want to do with my career because there's just so many doors that open up like with digital work that I do. So it's really cool. And I'm actually the president of AIGA Wayne State, which is like the graphic design student organization. And that has been a really great like source for me to just network and meet people in the community. And like I've been able to connect with a lot of alumni that way. And so it's really cool to just build this community of people through Wayne State. And I think that that's like probably one of my favorite parts about being here is just the community of people.
That's amazing. Wow. It's so cool that you're involved in so many programs. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a busybody.
Yeah, that's great.
So for your video this week, can you tell me a little bit about like the concept that you worked with and maybe kind of, the step-by-step structure of what it is you went through to create it?
Absolutely. So when we got our theme, lemons out of lemonade, I thought to myself, okay, I don't want to go along like the phrase like, oh, make lemons out of lemonade, because I felt that was kind of typical. So I was like, what if we took like a lemonade tasting, idea, and I thought I'd get my sister involved. She's 13 and she's super cute and a spitfire. I was like, people would love to see that. And later on in the process, we got my two cousins involved. One is 11 and the other is 13, and they portrayed my cousin Janet portrayed Kool-Aid in my concept, and my cousin Isabel portrayed Line Zinger. And I also had some help from my mom. She played Raspy Berry. Raspberry. And it was super fun because we really got to like work together like as a team. Like we didn't even really have a script. I just told them what I had in mind and they rolled with it, and it was really like their first time acting, and we adapted the characters to their personalities. Like my cousin Isabel is a little bit more quiet, so we had her her character be more of a mute, and I was really proud of her actually because acting takes her completely out of her comfort zone. And my cousin Janet is a little bit more outgoing, and she through the process was like, oh, I want my character to have a husband and it's gonna be this way. And oh my gosh. And in the final scene, when we announced the winner, she pulled out a microphone and did the scene, and the shock on my face was 100% realistic because I had no clue that she was going to do that. And it was really cool because they helped me edit a majority of the concept because I don't have a lot of experience in editing, but yet it was really just a collaboration. It was so much fun.
That sounds like it's so much fun, and I love that you left it so like open-ended and like you guys all improv, because I think that leaves a lot of room for like all your cousins and stuff to really take on a character and make it their own. So I think that's super cool, and I love that you guys all had like different personas, and it's just such a cute concept. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
I really enjoyed watching your video and the animations you made. My favorite animation was when all the houses were like turning and were upside down. How long did that take for you to do that?
So that specific page took me like a lot of time, just because there's a lot of different pieces I had to start moving. But really, like, Mary presented me with a concept to animate a storybook, and I thought it was super cool. And I had to read probably the book a few times to kind of understand like characters and really what the message was for the book. And I kind of love that this character, Mabel Stanley, she wasn't, like the typical little girl that liked to play with dolls. She liked to build things, and she liked tools. And, everyone thought she was weird because she was different. And then by the end of the story, she ends up saving the whole town, because like the thing that made her so different was the thing that ended up saving everybody, because she helped rebuild the town and fix it so it was nice and structured. And so I love that like this difference was celebrated, and I think that that's such a cool message. And I'm really happy with how the animations turned out. Although it was a long process, it was really cool, because this was the first time I've ever taken somebody else's illustrations and words and animated them myself. So it was a really cool collaboration, kind of like how your project was a collaboration. Working virtually like this, it's like you have to collaborate like that now, because it just makes life a lot easier. But yeah, it was a really cool experience.
That's awesome. And how was it talking about an issue that is so prevalent nowadays with difference in children, and just how a lot of toys are geared towards for boys and for girls? Like, how was that for you?
I just thought it was really cool, because I love that it was like, it's a good message to kids, just celebrating that, like, even if you are different, it's like that difference makes you so special. And I think that's important for kids to know that, because they need to know that, like, they don't need to like suppress what makes them different. They should just be like celebrating it and using what makes them unique for like to do good things, like what Mabel Stanley did in the book, how she saved the whole town. So I think that's really cool, and I really love the book. I think it's adorable.
Yeah. And what's your design process?
It varies from project to project. This project was a little bit different than some of the other ones I've done. So this one, obviously, I read the book a few times to get to know the character and to kind of understand the style it was drawn in. And then from there, I used Photoshop and After Effects, which are two photo editing and video editing softwares. And I kind of did my thing back and forth between the two programs. And I just took it page by page. And before I even got to that point, I just wrote out what on each page I wanted to animate and make move, based on what I thought was kind of doable. So it was really cool. It challenged me, but in a good way.
That's really cool. Oh my gosh. I so admire you for that. That is just such a skill that is so hard to, especially when you're doing someone else's work, work that isn't your own, that you created. You want to be able to portray what they want as well.
Right, exactly. And I imagine it's kind of the same thing, like, like both of us do a lot of collaborating in our work, especially like thinking about theater and how you have to take, words of somebody else or a character somebody else created, and then you have to kind of take that on yourself. So like, can you tell me a little bit about the collaboration process for you, like for this project or just for your work in general?
Absolutely, I would love to. So, in acting 1 here at Wayne State, one of the first things we learn is like the given circumstances of every situation. And as an actor, we always have to think, what is going on, like in the who, what, where, when, how. And it's also really important, like if we're portraying a character that's a lot more famous, like how would we portray, like in that show, like to follow those guidelines, or how in a monologue, like what is truly going on, and how we can raise the stakes on, like, the higher the stakes, the better. From an actor's perspective, you know, what can we do to make the event around us something that is, you know, that would be the most at stake. And it really has influenced my work a lot. And I think it's really interesting because through the different professions, we all have to constantly be thinking, what is the context? And one of my favorite things that I've heard a professor say was, we would act a lot differently if, like, if my mom walked through the door, but I'd act different if Jennifer Lopez walked through the door. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, like, constantly thinking about that context is what I do all the time and at work.
Oh, it's so cool. And I mean, like, I definitely think that had to have been quite a shift, because I think you probably work with a lot more professionals, like, in your schoolwork and, like, you know, in your professional career. You work with a lot more professional actors. So I think that, like, taking a couple of steps back, probably to work with your cousins who are amateur actors and have never really acted before. So I think that was probably pretty cool to, like, it was probably just, like, really fresh to have some younger kids just improving. I feel like that had to have been really fun.
It was so fun. I love being able to share the love of theater and how it can, you know, open a lot of other people up. It's a really cool experience. And I loved how I was like, okay, like, this has to be kind of serious. Like, we can't be, like, really silly, like, when we do this. But they kept their ideas and everything, like, silly, which I wanted, but they they were like, okay, like, they made their characters real. So that's what I really love. Yeah. How do you like being in the AGA society?
So that's really cool. AIGA is, like, it's a national society for graphic designers, but there's so many little, like, smaller breakdowns of that in cities and then in universities. And so I think it's really cool to even be a part of just a small little group of AIGA, because we get a lot of, we have, like, guest speakers come and talk to us a lot, and they're usually from within the area of Detroit, but we've actually had some people from out of the state come talk to us, especially right now virtually. We've had a lot of cool people, you know, that we've had come online for online seminars and stuff. So the collaboration there is super cool, because we just build this really big community, and knowing all these other people is just really cool to see their work and celebrate their successes, because when you have this big group, like, network of people, they support you too. So it's really, like, this harmonious, like, fun group to be a part of.
That's awesome. And networking is so important, because I know, like, for graphic design, like, when I make business cards or something, like, it's really cool to see, like, what people come up with and how they interpret you as a person and, like, your work. Like, that's really cool. And I think you did a lot of that with the story that you animated.
Yeah, it was definitely, I tried to put as much of myself into it as I could, which was, again, a challenge, but I thought it was really rewarding, just in the fact that it challenged me to do something that I normally don't do. And that's what I really want to keep trying to do in my work, is just to keep pushing myself further and further, so that way I keep learning and, like, can adapt to different changes and challenges that my career might bring me, because I'm sure there will be a lot of those.
Yeah. It's really cool. In your work, you have to be so self-aware, like, especially when doing a project like this. How do you go through that?
It's definitely, like, it's graphic design is kind of its own, like, weird thing, in that a lot of the work that we do isn't for ourselves. It's not like a lot of our personal work generally, like, we're making work for a client. So we really have to kind of have this compromise between, like, you know, our personal style, our personal preferences, or maybe, you know, like, the aesthetics or certain things that we'd like to put into our work. We have to compromise that with what a client is looking for, or what, you know, if you're collaborating with another designer, what they bring to the table. It's just kind of, you know, making compromises and edits. And it's really interesting, because it really does challenge you, and it's like you're just bringing a lot of perspectives into your work. And I think that's why graphic design is so cool, is because you can bring in so many different perspectives and ideas, and it's all still your work.
That's so cool. That's so important. Wow, I feel like I learned so much about graphic design today. It's awesome.
A lot about acting too. Like I never really thought much about acting because I myself am a terrible actor in all senses. And I think that it's super cool what you do. And I could not imagine taking on like this whole new character and embodying that person for, you know, a period of time. I think that that's so cool, and I could never do it, but I applaud you for doing it because I think it's so cool.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way about you because, oh my gosh, being able to get to make what you want to do as a creative person, and then what your client wants, and just being able to do that digitally and then drawing it out, that is so time consuming, and I just applaud you for that. And oh my gosh, just being able to draw and come up with things like, and being able to take like what's in your mind and put it into reality, I think that is so difficult.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I imagine it's very difficult for you as well, like to take on a new character, because you really have to get to know that character. You can't just, you know, pick up like, you know, just start being somebody else out of like thin air. You like, especially for a play or a musical that, you know, really has in-depth plot, and you really need to like understand who you have to be before you just be that person. So I think that there's so much like thought and research, and you really have to like change your mind, like your brain, to work as though you're somebody else for that period of time. I think that that's such a like interesting way to like just to go about it. Like the whole thing is so cool to me.
Oh, thank you so much. I also have a minor in psychology, so I have always loved diving in and seeing people and figuring out who they are. And it's cool that I get to become a part of that in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, it's really cool. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much.
Too. It was nice meeting you, and it was nice learning about your work. And I hope that everybody else enjoyed learning about our work too.
Yeah, awesome. I feel like I learned so much from you, and I can't wait to see more of your work in the future.
Yeah, same for you.
Thanks. I'll see you. Thank you.